I still remember how quiet that winter felt before anything went wrong. Snow had been falling since late afternoon, the kind that doesn't rush, just keeps coming down in soft, patient layers. I was sitting near the window, watching the streetlight outside blur into a white glow. I had a habit back then of staying up late during snowstorms, mostly because the world felt paused. No traffic, no voices, just that dull, padded silence. At the time, it felt normal, comforting even. I didn't know yet how much that silence would stick with me. That winter, I was splitting my time between my apartment in the city and my parents' old house up north. They'd moved out years earlier, but the place hadn't sold, so I checked on it when I could. That night, I was there because the power in the city had been unstable, and I needed a place where I could still work remotely without interruptions. By early evening, the snow had erased the road completely. The plow didn't come. That wasn't unusual. I made dinner, answered a few emails, and settled in. Around 9, the power flickered but stayed on. I noticed how still everything was. No wind, no animals, even the trees seemed frozen in place. That was the first time I felt something shift, though I couldn't have explained it then. Being alone hadn't bothered me before, but that night it felt different. Not scary, just heavier. The first thing that didn't make sense happened around 10. I stepped outside to clear the porch a bit, mostly out of habit. The snow was deeper than I expected, already up to my calves. As I brushed it away, I noticed a set of marks near the edge of the porch. They weren't footprints, at least not ones I recognized. Too shallow, too close together. I stood there longer than I meant to, trying to figure out how they got there. I told myself they were from falling snow clumps or maybe an animal dragging something. It felt silly to think otherwise. I went back inside and locked the door, more out of routine than fear. I didn't sleep well. The house made sounds all night, the usual creaks and pops from the cold. Sometime after midnight, I heard what I thought was a car. Tires, maybe. It didn't last long. The second incident happened the following night. I'd planned to leave that morning, but the roads still hadn't been cleared and my car was buried. I spent most of the day digging it out. By the time I finished, my hands were numb and it was already getting dark. I decided to stay one more night. That decision felt reasonable then. It doesn't anymore. That evening, the snow started again, heavier than before. I kept the lights low to save power. Around dinner time, I noticed movement at the edge of the tree line, just a shift, like someone stepping back into cover. I watched for a long time. Nothing else moved. No sound followed. I remember feeling embarrassed, like I was letting the isolation get to me. Still, I closed the curtains. Later, I heard a knock, not loud, just once. I froze, listening. The knock didn't repeat. I checked the door camera from my phone. The feed was nothing but white static from the snowfall. I told myself it had been a branch dropping snow onto the porch railing. That explanation didn't sit right, but I accepted it because the alternative didn't make sense. No one would be walking that road in that weather. The third night was the worst. The storm hadn't stopped, and the power finally went out around dusk. I lit a few candles and stayed in the living room, wrapped in blankets. The house felt smaller without the hum of electricity. Every sound stood out. Around 11, I heard footsteps above me. The house didn't have a second floor. The sound was slow, deliberate. I didn't call out. I don't know why. I think part of me was afraid of confirming it was real. The footsteps stopped near the front door. Then the handle moved. Not violently, just tested, like someone checking if it was locked. My chest tightened so hard it hurt. I stayed still, barely breathing. The handle stopped. I thought it was over. Then the glass shattered. Cold air rushed in, sharp and painful. I don't remember standing up, but suddenly I was running down the hallway. I slipped on the floor, hit my shoulder hard enough to see stars. Behind me, I heard movement, fast now, not rushed, purposeful. I reached the back door and shoved it open, plunging into snow so deep it stole my breath. My lungs burned. Every step felt like wading through wet cement. I fell twice. The third time, something grabbed my leg. I kicked blindly, screaming, feeling fabric tear. I don't know how I got free. I don't remember reaching the shed at the edge of the property, but I woke up there hours later, half buried in snow, bleeding and shaking uncontrollably. I was found that morning by a utility crew restoring power in the area. They said I was lucky. Hypothermia had already set in.
At the hospital, I drifted in and out of sleep. My memories came back in pieces. The broken glass, the footsteps, the grip on my leg. The police went back to the house later that day. They told me there was no sign of forced entry. The front window was intact, no broken glass, no footprints. The marks I'd seen on the porch were gone, erased by fresh snow. They said maybe I'd panicked, maybe I'd hurt myself trying to leave during the storm. One officer asked if I'd been drinking, another suggested sleepwalking. I stopped arguing after that. A week later, when I went back with a friend to collect my things, I noticed something near the shed. A strip of fabric, frozen into the snow. It matched the tear in my pant leg. My friend said it must have been from when the crew pulled me out, but the fabric was under a layer of ice that would have taken days to form.
I still think about something I realized later, lying awake in that hospital bed. The quote runs through my head more often than I'd like. The worst part wasn't that someone was there, it was that they knew exactly when I was alone. I don't stay in remote places anymore. I don't enjoy snowstorms. When everything goes quiet, my body reacts before my mind does. I lock doors I don't need to lock. I listen for sounds that don't come. And sometimes, when snow starts falling just right, I swear I can hear footsteps where there shouldn't be any.